Welcome to the Buyer's Table Built World Edition. My name is Leandra Elberger, and I lead platform and ecosystem partnerships at Forum Ventures. And I'm really excited to be hosting this session today. So for anyone who isn't familiar with us yet, you will be today. Forum Ventures is the leading early stage fund, accelerator, and AI venture studio for B2B startups. We were founded in 2014 with a mission to make the founder journey easier, more accessible, and more successful from the very earliest stages. So this year alone, we're investing in more than 55 companies, and we're also building companies from scratch through our venture studio. So if you're a founder or you know one in the built world space, or any space really, we'd love to talk. So on to our event today. The Buyer's Table is a live presentation format we built with one goal: to show what an honest, unfiltered enterprise buying conversation actually looks like. So today you're going to watch a small group of early stage founders present directly to senior decision makers from across the built world. And you're going to hear what these buyers actually think. So what resonates, what doesn't, and what would have to be true for them to take a meeting. Each company will present for 5 minutes, followed by 5 minutes of Q&A and feedback from the judges, who will bring on stage when it's time. As our judges are watching the presentation, they'll be thinking about a few things: how urgent and costly the problem actually is for the business, whether the solution is clear enough to act on, whether the founder's target customer actually fits their organization or network, how much confidence they have in the founder's ability to execute, and maybe most importantly, whether they'd be interested in taking a direct introduction. So I'd like to introduce our judges today. We've got a fantastic panel. Our first judge is Kyrie, SVP and Director of Innovation and Community Impact at the SWIG company. Kyrie leads the development and rollout of portfolio-wide programs in sustainability, innovation, and community impact, and oversees SWIG's initiatives that bring elevated building experiences together with community impact work. Next is Corwin Smith, Head of Data Analytics at Wallock. Corwin has built and led high-performing analytics teams that design platforms and processes delivered to scale. Delivered to scalable AI-powered insights, and he's known for helping leadership teams stay ahead of what's coming through forward-looking analytics and strong governance. Our third judge is Pratik Debri, Vice President and Head of Product Management at Avalon Bay Communities. Pratik has led large-scale digital transformation and built AI-native platforms across multifamily and commercial real estate. And he's also a former entrepreneur who's taken products from 0 to 1 and scaled them. So he really brings that operator lens to how we're thinking about today's session. Next up, we have Zachary Menzer, Vice President of Enterprise Initiatives at White Oak Partners. Zach has spent over a decade at White Oak, moving across project management, operations, capital markets, and market research, giving him a wide view into what it actually takes to run a multifamily real estate investment platform. And finally, and last but not least, we have Gregory Harriman, transformational executive at Tristone Construction, serving as a project sales manager. Gregory brings extensive experience across engineering, construction, and sustainability, and has a track record of driving strategic innovation and operational excellence across the real estate industry. So we have quite the panel today. We're just going to briefly show you the order of presentations. So first up, we're going to have Dustin from Simply Agnostic. Dustin, I'm going to bring you on stage and we'll get started right away.
So everybody, my name is Dustin Branting. I come from the building automation and management space, where I worked for Siemens Johnson Controls for the last 20 years. So how many of you are familiar with building management systems? If you rated your experience, I can imagine most of them are going to be on that far left. At least that's been my experience for the last decade. But what is a building management system? For those of you that don't know, it is the network of electronics that run all of the critical systems inside of a building. That could be anything from just air conditioning to air conditioning, generators, drives, exhaust fans, boilers. It can run the entire gamut of a system and all the critical infrastructure. It doesn't stop at just managing and controlling it, though. It's there to cut energy, help respond to the grid, and make the portfolio reportable. The question really is why is it only in the very best of the buildings that anybody builds? And the reason for that is it's not a product, it is a project. To implement any kind of electronic oversight over the critical infrastructure generally requires a construction scale project. That's 6 to 9 months, 6 to 7 figures per building, where somebody engineers, integrates, programs, and commissions all of these products in order to make it all come together, which is why you will not see this running on a portfolio 50 buildings across just to find out a compressor is failing. So we wanted to break down the barriers of each one of these situations and started with the reason why this is such an expensive endeavor is that the wiring is the first problem. We don't ask a specialist to come to the building when we need to replace the thermostat. We are building the product so that you don't have to do the same thing at a building management level. The same person that you use on facility to replace the thermostat is the same person you would use to replace the building management system, or in this case, install one. The touchscreen is applied to every one of these devices. Every one of the devices auto programs itself using prompts. So there is no program, no drawings, no training. All the programs are dropped in automatically using the touchscreen. Every one of these then becomes a specialist. The specialist trades that we employ are built into the silicon. So we're able to build physical models of the building, anchor it to the real machine. It's like having an engineer run your building continuously in every building at the device level. So the question is if you had something like this in your building, what is another 2 or 3 years of life on a $50,000 rooftop worth? Spread that across the portfolio. What changes when a utility will pay you instead of billing you for everything by participating in things like demand response? Or what's it worth to report every one of the buildings that you can't see? So we have built this, which is building management that you can install, either mechanics or facility engineers, for the price of a thermostat. And that is my presentation.
Wonderful. Okay, I'm going to bring all of the judges on stage. Okay, so we have 5 minutes of feedback or questions or anything that you'd like to discuss. So I'll let you take it from here. Anyone want to jump in? Oh,
I'll at least kick things off there with the first question that always comes to my mind when it comes to the physical hardware, especially in buildings that are older, if you will. Internet access is always a problem. To make this work, you actually need an integrated, connected ecosystem. How are you handling, say, you're down in a boiler room in the basement that does not have cellular available down there, nor is there building Wi-Fi? How are you handling that with your devices?
Where you have an asset that's in a location that you can't reach, like a boiler, you can put the device on, you know, in an area that you can get cellular to, and then connect the radio antenna down to it. But effectively, what we're doing is, especially with a boiler, in those cases, you're usually integrating. You'll have a two-wire conductor that goes from there up to the device, and the device goes out cellular. So that way, the whole device isn't stuck inside of the basement with the boiler.
Makes sense.
Maybe a question from me here, Dustin, is where have you deployed this, and are you targeting a particular real estate asset class? Like, is it office buildings primarily? Like, where are you getting a lot of traction?
So we just deployed the first units as betas. We're deploying another series of units in the next few weeks that are now FCC approved. But they're going in all kinds of buildings, from Tanger Outlets to Panera Bread. It's going to a host of different places. Most of these are coming to us from mechanical contractors. So we're working with the big mechanical contractors, the roll up channel, because for those tiers of I would say labor, there isn't a building management system that is intended for them. It's always been a specialist class of hardware. So this hardware is intended for them so that they can install it on any property that they work on. So that could be class B, that could be light commercial, it could be multi-site. We're not going to tell them where they can and can't install it. They find the application, we tell them if we fit, and they put it there. As we grow, we'll start to have more enterprise conversations. but at the moment, most of them are coming through the large HVAC roll-up channels.
Great. So if you're piggybacking into projects with the mechanical contractors, they're the design build part of the equation, and so much of what we need in building management is on the operation and maintenance side. So design, build, operate, and maintain is the acronym that I always have to remind my builder friends that there's more to it than just design build. So if your primary partners are the mechanical contractors, are those contractors folks that are typically looking at that operation and maintenance side, that support after the installation?
Yes, this is all intended to be post-construction projects. These are buildings that have been in service, that have systems that are 4, 5, 10 years old. This is meant to be for service. This is OpEx. This is not really CapEx type of funding, especially with as expensive as building management has generally been. You may not have the ability to replace $250,000 worth of controls in a building. So this is perfect for the mechanic who says, I'm going to replace 5 of these on every one of my servants once a quarter. And then over the course of a couple of years, we'll have these assets now on this new system, and we don't have to undertake a massive CapEx project to do so.
To that question, then, what is the savings on say, one of your competitors? Like, how are you going through and approaching the market? Are you more reoccurring model on revenue that I'd be paying you monthly? I'm assuming there's some operating platform on that as well, but I'm just curious on the why you versus somebody else.
Of course. So the closest competitors that you guys might be familiar with are going to be like Siemens and Schneider Electric, Johnson Controls, Distech, Delta, right? The large OEMs and their product lines. The difference is one, that the product is intended to go through either Wi-Fi or cellular. So we're not using the traditional BACnet MSTP, BACnet Ethernet, wired infrastructure that most of our systems use today. That allows us to, especially in a building where you have a mechanic that's going around replacing the devices, they don't have to struggle with communication systems, which is a huge roadblock to most building operators, especially the old legacy MSTP networks or RS-45 networks are really tough to work with and diagnose, especially if there's a problem, and that's an infrastructure improvement. So the cost of installing it is generally going to be about 60 to 70% less because of a couple of things. One is using the Wi-Fi instead of wired infrastructure. The second is that a mechanic just goes through and presses yes, no questions on the touchscreen, and the device auto programs itself. Programming is a special labor class that usually costs quite a bit. And then the devices do go up to the cloud. So there is a reoccurring subscription to having all of these devices report to the cloud. Once they are in the cloud, however, we have the capabilities for both the building owner as well as the mechanics to apply trends, alarms, optimizations to any of the systems that are there.
Hi everyone, I'm Angeron, co-founder of Vitrobot. You know the rope access market, it's collapsing, margin going low for the subcontractor, and nobody wants to do this job anymore. But the real problem for you is you don't have access to the predictive maintenance. You never truly know what's happening on your building, and because of the market pressure, the service quality keeps degrading, of course. Robot solve the boss problem. The inspection robot behind me detect submillimetric default and can generate severity scored report with the repairing cost. So we develop different we fine-tune different model to be able to cause this default and to detect this default. And we can map everything directly on the building to be able to report the default. On top of that, the cleaning robot wash directly the facade. We have 2 time productivity compared to the human, and we can deploy directly on the same anchor as you have on your building in under 30 minutes. Of course, with some operator on the roof, we are not fully autonomous for the moment, but there is no custom installation or no capex. For the model, we lease the robot between $700 to $2,500 per month over 48 months. and with just 3 days or 5 days of usage, fully usage, we can directly replace the human crew compared to the cost. So it's very, very effective. We are on the way to sign a 100K contract based on the cleaning, and we are in talk with Sodexo for the US expansion.
Let me bring the judges back on stage. While I'm doing that for the judges, we would love to hear your questions for things that aren't clear, but also just general feedback about what you think about the solution and what you just heard. Feel free to start with the feedback or questions.
So Angeron, you are in your system. So it's cleaning the facade, and at the same time it's inspecting the facade for any defects. Is that correct?
That's both robots. That different robot. There is one robot for the cleaning. We use suction to be able to stick on glass, and there is the inspection robot. It's literally cable driven. We evolve along the way of the facade, like 1 meter of distance.
Got it. And so that separate robot that's doing the inspecting, as it is reading, it's using computer vision to identify potential defects in the system. How are you guys validating and prioritizing those defects that you're finding?
That's a great question, because we are operator for many years, so we make this job before. We technically build the data set by our hand, like, because nobody collect this data before. So we go on the building to collect the 45K image to make the first vision model to be able to collect 13 class of default. And based on that, we make 100K annotation based on this default, and we compare it to the quoting we have with our partner, like the subcontractor. And on top of that, we fine tune and develop a VLM model to be able to code this default. So at the end of the day, we don't just report the default on the 3D mapping, we code the default on top of that, so we can have the severity scored based on the cost, based on the type of problem, of course.
And then how is that summarized for an asset manager that has that's listening to a property manager, that's listening to a building engineer, and understanding the age of the building? How are they ingesting that information? How are they taking that in?
Of course, there is a dashboard where everything is reporting. Like, you have the mapping, you have everything, but on top of that, you have a report with a PDF, like a PDF report, or you have all the severity of your default, when you need to make it, and a little comments based on the AI PVC you need to make more quicker on that.
And one last question, are you using any predictive modeling for the future for the purposes of helping them develop budgets to remedy any of those defects that you find?
That's the goal, of course, yeah. But for that, we need to have a very perfect accuracy, because based on this report, if we make a mistake, there is a problem can happen. So we need to have a perfect accuracy for that. That's why we start by operating the robot by ourselves. Don't just make the lead.
I'll dive in with, you were very clear on the problem, obviously, clearly the labor shortage, and there's clearly an ongoing issue with every building. You need to continue to clean it and update it, or get a representation of you need to do any repairs. But are you doing this at the same time you're cleaning a building? Because I know you clean buildings very, very frequently, but is this a once a year piece? Is this a once every 5-year piece for this specific robot we're talking about here?
If we spoke about the law say for the inspection need to happen every 5 years. But if we just make the inspection, there is no business here, there is no market here. But of course, the reality is not that. Every time you need to make a cleaning, you need to make a quoting, or you need to make a light repairing, you need to make a quoting. And for this quoting, you send the same operator for the inspection. So it's better to run the inspection, to make the quoting, to make everything in the same time, and doesn't just want to wait 5 years for the next inspection. Because if the cost is very low, you just deploy your robot. Oh, there is a new light repairing or inspection or cleaning, whatever you need to make. You just deploy your robot and you have your perfect mapping, like the actual mapping for that. For the cleaning, it's depend on where we talk. Of course, for Dubai is more like 4 times a year, but in New York is more like 2 times a year. It's depends.
So you're working towards getting them to be the same robot at this point. Is that kind of what I'm hearing? And I know, again, you said labor is roughly 150% increase in terms of you've got just a shortage of people, so the costs are rising. How does this compare cost-wise to current labor markets today?
If you, as I say, if you use the robot like for the little one, because there is two different one, but for the little one, if you use it three day a month, you'll be profitable, like break even compared to the cost of a human crew. For the same usage for based on the lease model for 48 months, of course.
We just have 1 minute left, so probably one more question or comment.
Curious about your pricing model for the market. It's not clear to me. Maybe you can enlighten us.
Okay, so it's we in the first phase, of course, we operate the mission by ourselves because we need to collect more data, etc., etc. But let's talk about the phase two. For the phase two, we lease the robot, so we don't operate the mission. We don't make anything on that. We just deploy the robot for the facility manager or the subcontractor, and based on that, we have a lease. So this lease, it's between 700 to $2,500, my bad, for the depend to the lighter one or the big one for the cleaning robot. And yeah, based on this price for 48 months lease, if you use the robot 3 day to 5 day per month, you are break even compared to the human cost for the same usage. It's more clear. Or?
Yes, it.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you so much. We are going to call up our next presenter, who is Malcolm from BRIC. Oh.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. So my name is Malcolm, commercial lead at BRIC AI. Appreciate the opportunity to introduce us today. BRIC is at its core an AI-powered energy optimization company. So that's it. Just a moment of our founding team. Our founder and CEO is a 15-year energy veteran and electrical engineer by trade. Spent about 10 years on Wall Street as an energy banker. And later actually was a battery storage CFO in New York. We are very much, just think of us as an AI-powered energy optimization company. So everything in an owner's operating budget, as many of you know, energy is one of the most controllable costs. Today, unfortunately, it's one of the least controlled. Difference there. Just a quick story from this, which may resonate. VP of Asset Management I've been speaking to, one of the problems that he had is he's walking into his one of his vacant buildings in California. It's completely empty, but it's cooled to 71 degrees. And the thermostat is locked in a box. He had to break it open. He had to manually set the zone to 79, which is a common problem. Obviously, the bigger picture here is that zoning into HVAC specifically, many energy management systems run on fixed schedules. They'll ignore daily realities and variables, occupancy, weather, power rates, etc. The impact opportunity for a VP like that is that at a 5 cap, every wasted dollar that he'll recover with solution, that is BRICS, is $20 of asset value, potentially millions in OpEx that he can put back into his business. So to keep it simple, what BRIC is we have a software layer enabled by a hardware layer. The hardware does two things. It collects predominantly 3 types of data: equipment data, environmental data, and power data. And it sends control commands back. So you can very much think of it as a universal data reader and a universal control machine. So the software is the control brain. And on that platform, there are 3 products. Essentially, there's energy optimization, there's predictive maintenance, and an autonomous permitting tool. Getting quickly into the control brain in practice. So this is not another recommendation engine, which would just hand your team a to-do list. So the system's fully autonomous. So we build a live digital twin of your building. It forecasts conditions ahead of time. Then it actually acts on the data, and it will send fresh commands back every 10 to 15 minutes. And so you'd see everything in the dashboard, which is common, but at least the commands are sending back. So every building unit, every override, you're seeing all that in one place. The system generates savings without ever compromising on comfort or functionality. Human command always overrides. There are deliberate exceptions to full autonomy, which is what we give. In critical environments like data centers, we balance autonomy with human oversight. Getting to the savings itself. So some examples of how savings accumulate would be like set point scheduling adjustments, or pre-cooling based on power market prices, or switching a zone from cooling to dehumidification based on occupancy. So in these cases, comfort goes up, energy usage goes down. If you have a 30-story tower with 10 zones per floor, let's say you got 300 strategies all running, every zone in real time, fully autonomously scaled to a portfolio. Let's say you have 50 buildings, you might have 15,000 different zones. Each is being optimized every 10 minutes. So the solution becomes very much a chief engineer's best friend quickly. The result in terms of the savings, given our deployments, given the accumulation of these commands, running 24/7 nonstop is 15 to 20% savings on average, up to 35%, all verified from the meter. And so we're impacting both sides of the utility bill, including base load and demand charges. And we're also extending the equipment life, which Dustin actually had mentioned earlier. If you think of, an average of 3 to 5 years, what is the cost to replace a central plant? Could be, $5-10 million. So all this while the buildings are effectively running themselves. So we've been pitched many methodologies, from thermostats to VMSs of the world, which are data aggregation plays. So they bring your data and visualize it. They are dashboards. Traditional controls, like I mentioned before, set and forget, could have been scheduled years ago. Fire's the same way every day, regardless of whether a floor is full or empty. Power is cheap at its peak. So we redecide every 15 minutes based on what's actually happening. And then finally, whether or not you have a BMS, we work. So newer AI players all rely on an existing BMS to gather data and send the control. We don't rely on a BMS. So many of the buildings out there, commercial buildings, have no BMS at all. That is very much a sweet spot for us. If you do have a BMS, we treat that BMS very much as the foundational stack. So it'll keep running the building while we actually make that BMS smarter.
We'll open it up for feedback and questions. We'd love to hear from the judges some direct feedback that you might have, as well as just clarifying questions.
I'll kick that off with, I think that's always the biggest problem when we say commercial real estate. It's actually, 5, 10 different industries all in one. So certainly this seems much more like office or retail versus I know I'm multi. So multi doesn't really necessarily sometimes work in some of these capacities because you've got every individual unit has their own structure. This feels like, I guess my biggest question for you, based on, again, not my industry, let's say the hardware manufacturers get into this side, is that a risk? Are you protected from that?
That's a good question. So we are very much partnered with the manufacturers, and that is part of our go-to-market. So for us, just to back up on the go-to-market for us, very much on high energy facilities where ROI is going to be immediate and expansion potential is large, and the owners, whoever's owning, facility owners, hotel groups, healthcare, industrials, data centers, and so on, these are folks who are directly benefiting. The owners control the budget and facility access. So like you said, residential, certainly it is a use case and application, but if everybody's paying their own utility bill, it's not as compelling if, compared to having a $500,000 or 6-figure or 7 figures that you're spending on utilities. So that very much determines. Now, for OEMs controlled, these are channel partners. So they are compatible. We are an overlay on those systems. We are not a replacement of those systems. We just make those smarter. You're seeing a lot of acquisitions actually happening right now in this field. You have Train buying BrainBox. You just had Carrier purchase 75F. These are more legacy systems, similar, not exactly the same as what we do, but they're acquiring these types of companies. So hopefully that's a general overview answer to your question.
So I have a question around, you'd mentioned the digital twin of your building, and all of the presenters today have talked in some regards around a 3D physical representation of the physical space. Curious more specifically, when you say digital twin, how are you guys going about doing that, and what does that process involve and look like relative to the device that you guys are talking about?
Sure. So thanks for the question. Getting started with us, generally we're asking a couple questions. We're learning about the system of a building, your historical utility bills, and whether or not you have a BMS in place. We try to keep the questions, the information gathering very easy, take very little time for asset managers, engineers, facilities leads, general managers, etc. So we'll take that information on. As part of that, we might get as-built of the building. We'll learn about the zones. We'll sort of put together a hardware determination piece, which also helps us price. And then we will produce that digital twin. And that is pretty much commissioned and handed off on installation day. So we don't turn that on until installation day, but we can actually get people to see savings happen right off the bat. Generally speaking, though, to get that information in about 48 hours, we'll provide the savings analysis. We'll sort of run pre-inspection to get even clearer. We'll follow that with however many days needed to install, and that dashboard, that digital twin goes live. We're saving start at day 2, and then the reinforcement learning piece kicks in at month 3 or 4.
Hi, I'm Hussein, co-founder and CEO at Masaro. We turned construction field operations into project intelligence using AI voice agents. Now, here's the problem in numbers. The average construction project in North America runs about 30% over schedule and 28% over budget, which adds up to about $200 billion in lost value every single year in capital that owners, developers, and contractors watch leak out of their own projects. Today, project status gets updated manually, so it lags what's actually happening on site. Decisions and changes live in scattered calls, texts, and conversations, and there's not a single source of truth. Now, by the time a delay surfaces in a status report, it's already compounded into a much bigger problem, which is the core issue. That lack of real-time visibility is costing you money. So we built Masaro. Masaro's agents listen to what's actually happening on site, whether it's a poured slab, weather delay, or late delivery, and turn it into a continuously updated execution plan automatically. So impacts get flagged, recovery actions get recommended, and every team, whether it's the owner, contractor, or sub-vendor, is working off the same live picture instead of a report that's already a few weeks late. Now let me show you a quick demo of how this actually works. So you're looking at a construction project, and there's only a few activities here for the sake of simplicity for the demo. So on our dashboard here, you can see a table view of the schedule, and you can see a Gantt chart view of the same schedule as well. And the side panel over here is basically what gets you that information from the field. So as people use our voice agent to record updates, that information continuously flow in real time into this panel here. So let's say we want to update the underground utilities activity here for the Riverside Plaza project. So you can simply go to our voice agent, which is basically keeping in mind adoption for the people that are working in the field. We try to make it as simple as possible, just a big record button so they can click it, speak in natural language, and just send it and move on. So we can say something like, the underground utilities activity in the Riverside Plaza project is now 100% complete. So as you see, it transcribes what you're saying in real time, and it shows you that transcription so you can confirm it's been captured accurately, and you can simply click submit and move on with your work in the field. Now, the goal of this is to continuously, when you have in real world, you have hundreds, if not thousands of activities happening simultaneously. People are reporting those updates, and you can basically create that real-time view of what's happening in the field to the people in the office. So going back to our dashboard here, as you see, we just got an update just now for this activity. It tells you who sent it from the field, the transcription, the impact, the details such as date and time, and it actually updates the activity to 100%. It was 50% before we made that update. So after graduating from engineering school, I spent about 10 years delivering complex construction projects, and this is the exact visibility gap that I experienced firsthand. My co-founder Chetan spent 15 plus years building products at Apple, Amazon, and Procore. So we're not really guessing at the AI side or the construction side. And right now, we're at a stage where we're looking to establish 2 to 3 design partnerships to validate Masaro's value in real world. So if you're an owner, developer, or contractor working on an active capital project and suffering from this visibility gap, we'd love to talk. End of presentation. Thank you.
So you're saying it is a
Well done on the structure there of the presentation. Definitely understand the urgency and the problem and the clarity there. I know you're trying to figure out costs, so that you have no idea on that piece, but I think you did a good job of articulating what the specific problem was in the demo. Presenting live is always a terrifying thing, especially in something like this. So well done that everything works. That's always great.
Thank you.
No questions on that one. We're not a development company, so I don't have any specifics for you, but I just want to say good job on the presentation.
Appreciate it, Wallock.
I had a question on the how you guys are thinking through. If I conversationally say an activity is complete and then add a photo that might show that it's not actually complete, are you reconciling the visual to the belief that it's complete?
Yeah, that's a good question, Corwin. So right now we do have a feature to add pictures to the updates, and it shows up on the dashboard. So you can kind of provide more evidence on what the update that was sent. We don't necessarily have that exact correlation yet, but as we continue to build this, the goal is to make the system smarter and build out that AI engine that captures, photo information and context about the project, and just links everything to give you better recommendations as the project continues.
So seconding what Zachary mentioned, right? Great job on the presentation. We are a vertically integrated developer, owner, operator in multifamily. So I certainly see some usage here. My question was really around the workflow management, because it feels to me like anyone can complete any task. Is there a back and forth with, let's say, the project manager on site? Like the project manager may have some questions, or are you trying to envision that using AI where, hey, someone said, I finished, you said the basement works. Picture doesn't reflect that. Is the bot intelligent enough to say, you know what, show me these 10 pictures to really mark this work as completed, and then there's a workflow with the project manager. So are you thinking along those lines to really make it more kind of, I would say, almost waterproof here?
Yeah, exactly. So right now I showed a very simple example here on what a quick update could look like and how we can make it autonomous that way, because a lot of time and energy is wasted on these small admin tasks. Now, a more complex example would have been reporting a delay, for example. So that's pushing your critical path. And the way that comes into the dashboard is into the terms, it tells you what's happening, and it actually asks you to approve or decline. So that's what the workflow would be. So we kept the human in the loop for these kind of more critical updates that are coming from the field that actually negatively impact your project. So they can, to the PM or the scheduler, can make the decision to really approve that update or not, or escalate beyond that to the field to understand what's going on. And you mentioned something about the back and forth. It's on the roadmap to build something, an agent that's more conversational, that actually is smart enough to ask questions if certain things are vague, and get more context to make the right update on the schedule.
Awesome.
And Hussein, in great presentation. The one of the questions I had, there's technology out there to translate. We have our job sites now are very multicultural locations, and there's technology out there to translate those different languages as we're working through a construction project. Have you guys taken that into consideration as part of your design?
That is correct. Yes, it's something we're looking into right now, Greg. It is actually feedback we got more than multiple times, I would say, from companies and users that we're talking to, that this is something that should be built in. So this is something we're actively looking into right now.
Yeah, the reason I mentioned it is there's an article I read recently about there's a company called Axon, and they do the police cameras, the body cameras, and those cameras actually have the technology to convert. I think it's 45 languages in almost instantaneously during when police officers have interactions in the field. So it just popped into my mind when you were talking.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense, and that's definitely the goal here with Masaro.
Hey, I think we're just about at time. Thank you so much, Hussein. I'm going to bring up our final presenters, Casa AI.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Seley, for the introduction. It's great. So, what Casa AI does is straightforward. So, it's one video walkthrough becomes a report, estimate, and work orders. So, it is the same move out with Casa. A property manager, staff member walks to the unit once with a phone, and the app guides them room by room, so nothing gets missed, right? So, by the time they leave the unit, the system has identified the damages, prices the repairs, generates the condition report of the entire unit, and most importantly, drafts the work orders straight into the systems that you already use, like ERT or Appfolio. So the repairs that used to take a week to get scheduled can get scheduled that same afternoon. So this is a demo of our live product that is done on a live real unit from one of our design partners, and you can see the findings that appears on the camera as you move to different parts of the apartment. And when the walkthrough ends, it gives you a well documented structure and a condition report that also holds against the deposit disputes that you usually get, because it's all well documented, and it also has repair estimates like you see here. And we'll also have the dashboard that overlays all of these things, including the inventory management, the inspections that happens in the entire unit, and the history of inspections as well. So we are right now in pilot conversations with some of the major operators in the Midwest, like CSM, Band Batter, and we're really excited to. We are in live MVP beta, and we are trying to get some of the design partners on board to build alongside with them. And the pricing is simple and standard. It's $24 per unit per year for unlimited inspections. And the best part is the condition history is yours. So it's exportable, audit ready, and synced to the systems that you already use. Seley will talk about the roadmap. Thank you so much, guys, everyone. We would love your awesome feedback from your expertise, and we would love to see what you guys think about this problem and whether this is urgent in your industry. And
Definitely urgent in the industry from a couple of different perspectives, I would say. How are you using computer vision?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking. So the main thing that our reasoning model. So we built our own proprietary reasoning model using one of the using all the data that we actually got from a lot of properties. And one of the things that we actually leveraged was Seley was a property manager, so he classified and mentioned, and there are a set of rules and guidelines that the model follows essentially to give you a crisp and like to the point inspection report essentially.
Of every image, so every image is getting cross-referenced for every pixel. In addition to that, when the tenant does a move-in inspection, or if the property manager does the move-in inspection, it compares it to the move-out inspection, so it has
A
a
baseline to
great point of
reference
reference.
against.
First and foremost, congrats on the presentation. You guys are kind of hit all the key pieces that we were supposed to be discussing on the urgency, the scale, the how does it fit into the different pieces. I will say it looks like you're going into more of the, for lack of a better word, and obviously you've got Avalon Bay on the call, and like, okay, that's a different scale. If you're talking about Appfolio, you're talking about like smaller groups that maybe own 2,000 units. So you're going through and have a different grouping of your target audience. Like the $2 per unit, you might be able to get there, but you're not going to be able to get it here in the if you've got 10,000 units, if you've got 100,000 units, you're going to be looking at the dollar or less. So happy to continue that conversation offline. My piece there was just very rarely do you hand off between three people well in a presentation, and you guys did. So I just wanted to call that out. And then also call out that the cost might be a little bit high. And if you're really targeting to hit the larger groups, Appfolio is not the right one to start with. You're going to really want to go to Yardi, who's got 50% of the space when it comes to the commercial side. And the commercial is where you can go through and scale faster. So I just want to say, I think you're probably targeting the wrong group, but I might be wrong on that. Love to hear the rest of the thoughts. Definitely. Yeah, I think that who you're targeting, the short-term rentals is a different PMS than you've got 10,000 or 100,000 units. Those are two different PMS systems.
Yeah, and guys, I would also add that there's a couple of different ways. The inspections that occur inside of an apartment unit, oftentimes owners will require or have a protocol for annual inspections. So not just a turn, but also annual inspections. So look at that avenue as another place where you could help the owner have that information. And then the other one's due diligence. In incorporating in that initial due diligence at the acquisitions part of the life cycle of a property, that they're doing inspections of every unit. The large property management firms, the Gray Stars and Avalon Basin folks, they're doing inspections of every unit, and they're documenting with photographs and handwritten notes. So you've got a great opportunity to improve the collection of the data and then the ultimate utilization of the data post-inspection.
Absolutely.
Greg, I was going to build off of the annual review of everything, but also we have a lot of LIHTC, low income housing tax credit, right? And there's no shortage of inspections that go along with that we can then incur fees, fines, other kinds of things that impact our business model in that regard. So capturing not just unit turns, but also areas of opportunity to future-proof yourself against any kind of adverse regulatory governing body coming in and taking a look at things as well. That you guys already have the visuals of kind of before, after, and during it throughout the life cycle of the unit. That can be really helpful for us as well. And then capturing that information in a way that our community managers can keep track of, hey, it's been a while, we should be preparing for and looking at X, Y, and Z things across units as they become available.
Yeah, and Corwin, another part of that to take into consideration is the insurance side. So the opportunity to document the inside of a unit, to be able to have that kind of data, that as you go for your annual renewal of insurance, to be able to have a conversation with them and say, look, we're utilizing Casa AI to document the conditions inside the units, and here's a compilation of information that shows you the condition of the unit. So you should, because we're giving you access to additional data, you should give us better insurance rates. It's worked for me in the past.
Great
or
call
post
out.
an inference claim too. If there's a trip and fall, if you've recorded the property before and after, you can go through and have more proof and call those things out.
Yep.
Thank you to all the founders who presented today. We'll follow up with you shortly, but to Corwin, Zach, Greg, and Pratik, thank you so much for joining us as judges. We really appreciate your insights and feedback, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.